white bean farro lettuce cups. I chose this recipe as well. The weather's starting to get nice, but it's a nice light lunch or even dinner or snack. As you know, when the weather is warmer, we don't want to eat very heavy. So this is a great thing that you can make. So this is a little taste of our, no pun intended, of our cooking demos. Like I mentioned before, we do 3 recipes. I'm just going to do one quick recipe, but this is what it looks like. And Melissa, when you said into her kitchen, this is probably like the cleanest part of the kitchen if you saw the perimeter. So it looks all nice and neat, but let's go ahead and get started. And I was talking about whole grains earlier. One of the things that we might not venture into. This recipe is using farro. Farro is one of my favorite grains. It has the texture of rice. It's a little sticky, but you can use any type of grain for this recipe. Quinoa, amaranth, even couscous, which is like a pasta, whatever. My big thing is use whatever you have on hand. That's the beauty of cooking. You get a recipe, but feel free to substitute some things out. So before class, I cooked my grain. If you have an Instapot, if you have a rice cooker, feel free to throw the grains in. I just usually cook it on the stove. We've always heard that, don't lift the lid. I'm always lifting the lid and stirring it. That way I can see if I need to add more water. Don't be afraid to add more water. Farro, F-A-R-R-O. Don't be afraid to add more water, because if it ends up being too much water, you can drain it. If you find that all the water has been absorbed and the grain is still hard, then that's when you add more water. You can also make it with a vegetable broth or a chicken broth that gives it more flavor. So, all right, so I did my farro before class. Here are cannellini beans. You can use any type of beans that you have. Kidney beans, garbanzo beans, navy beans, black beans, the sky is the limit. Beans are my favorite too. I love beans. I will eat beans out of the can, which I know is a little unusual. So I added my beans. Next, I will add some carrots. So these are called Matchstick Carrots, and I will give you a little demonstration on how to get these into matchsticks. If that is not something you want to do, feel free to use a vegetable peeler and just peel it into your bowl. If you're having some issues with neuropathy, or you just don't feel like cutting up a carrot, go ahead and buy the shredded carrots that in the grocery store that are already done. I'm all about convenience too. But if you want to learn how to make your carrot into matchsticks, this is scrubbed and peeled. You can eat a carrot with the peel on, but just make sure you're scrubbing it really well. Okay, so I'm just taking one, and the goal here is to make this carrot into a rectangle. So I cut one side, flip it down, and a general rule when you're chopping fruits and vegetables, try to always get it to the flat side. It's easier to manage without it sliding around. All right, so I have a rectangle right there. Next step, and save these as a dip or to munch on, or give it to your dog. Dogs love carrots. And cut this into little thin planks. And be very careful. This is kind of hard to work with. And once you have the planks, you can stack them on top of each other and make them into your matchsticks. If you feel that they are too long, I did earlier, I just cut them in half, okay? I won't go through the rest of the carrots because I did chop some before class. So I'll toss them in, toss these fresh ones in. The recipe also calls for pistachios. So whenever you're purchasing nuts, make sure to get the no salt at the most lightly salted. Be careful with the candied nuts. Those are awesome, obviously, especially around the holidays, but just be mindful of all that added sugar and salt. So I shelled my pistachios, and we're going to crush these to add a little bit of texture. So what I do, I am not fancy. I just use a mallet. I have them in a bag and I lightly crush them. Now you don't want to pulverize them into a powder. That's not the texture we're going for. So I'm just making sure that they are cracked. And I will toss these in as well. Next, I have sun-dried tomatoes. I know, I love pistachios. I have sun-dried tomatoes. You can purchase them packed in oil. They now have them vacuum packed, so you're not getting that oil. I like to buy the ones that are packed in oil because it gives more flavor to the recipe. So it's up to you. And I'm just going to roughly chop them. We don't need to be perfect cutting them into little strips. And what's interesting is I'm not a huge fan of sun-dried tomatoes, but in this recipe, it really, really works. It just gives it a little bit of tanginess and makes it a more savory dish. Watch your grammar, Michelle. All right, I'm going to rinse my hands off quickly. Okay. Next, I will add, and if there's anything in here that you don't like, don't add it. This is a good recipe to clean out your refrigerator. So if you want to add cherry tomatoes or peppers, you can do that. If you're allergic to nuts, leave them out, or maybe do seeds instead, like pumpkin seeds, roasted almonds, whatever you'd like. So I'm using a purple onion or a red onion. Use whatever you have on hand. So I just cut off the bottom and I give this a good peel, couple layers down. It should make it, a little bit easier to peel off. And I always leave one side on, because as we're making the cuts, the onion is not sliding around. So I take my knife, and this is for dicing an onion. This is different than chopping. We have it's called Her Library, and it's on our website. And there is a nutrition button at the top, okay? If you click on that nutrition button, there are some videos for basic cooking, how to dice an oven, how to make matchsticks. I'm gonna just turn it like this. I'm left-handed, so it's a little hard to see, and slice it down into these nice diced pieces. And because I left this top on, it wasn't sliding around. All right, so I will add that. Okay. Moving on, clear my space a little bit. I will give this a nice toss. This is something you can make a day in advance. Your grain might stick together just a little bit. When that happens to me, I actually just dig my hands in and break it up a little bit. If you need to add a little bit of liquid to help break it up, you can do that as well. All right, so next step, let's make the dressing. So we like to encourage making your dressing at home instead of a store-bought dressing. So for this recipe, maybe make double the dressing part. That way you have it for the rest of the week to enjoy with a salad. All right, so olive oil. You can use avocado oil. That's fine too. Some dried Italian seasoning. If you have some fresh herbs, that's great. If you don't like an Italian seasoning, dill, whatever dried herbs you have, rosemary, that will work as well. I'm going to This is called a microplane, and this is good for zesting citrus like lemons and limes. It's good for zesting ginger. I'm going to do this with garlic. The recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic. In this household, that means 2 cloves of garlic. So
Always.
that's what we do. That's what we do. All right. This is a great kitchen tool to have on hand. Ooh, this is slipping around. There we go. If you want to use a garlic press, that's fine. In the grocery store, they now have tubes of pureed garlic, also ginger. It's in a tube in the refrigerated section of your grocery store. That's really handy if you are, again, having issues grasping or putting a lot of pressure on your hands. I'll give this, I'm going to rinse my hands one more time. That was pretty slippery. And whisk it. Or if you don't have a whisk, use a fork. Toss that right in. And we just have one more step. Actually, 2 steps, because we're going to present this. Mix it all together. I think I was saying earlier, you know, if you make it a day ahead, all the flavors really, you know, a lot of things we make might taste better the next day. So this is a great recipe for that. All right, so I'm going to, the lime got stuck in there. Next step is to juice a lime. Again, if you're experiencing some pain, use the lime juice, the store-bought lime juice that comes in the little plastic lime. You could also use lemon for this recipe. Whatever works best for you. Oh, this smells good. I bet you could even do the juice of an orange. I think that would work well. All right, so I'm leaving the lime juice in here. Next step is to cut up an avocado. Now, there is always, you know, you stand in front of the avocado bin and you're never sure which one to pick. Just a quick tip. If your avocado is completely dark and black and it's real mushy, it's overripe. Don't pick that. It'll be stringy inside. If it is green, completely green and hard as a baseball, don't pick that one. It's not ripe. Try to go for something in the middle. And one way to tell, you have the stem up here. If the stem just pulls out easily like this did, it's ready. If the stem is still in there and you're kind of struggling with it, it's not ready. If you see something without a stem, it's overripe, unless some child came by and pulled all of the stems out. So that could happen also.
Or at least Michelle's in the grocery stores pulling the stems.
Right. All right. So this is how I like to peel my avocado. There are many ways that you can peel your avocado. I know they have little tools in the grocery store. Take the seed out. All right, and again, just a rough chop. I just cut mine there. I go this way. And I toss them right in with the lime juice, give it a good coat. If you are making this a day ahead, I would not put the avocado in because, as you know, it will turn brown once the oxygen hits it. So what I will do, going to go ahead and plate this. So I'm using some Boston leaf lettuce. You can use any type of lettuce with a big leaf. I promise you, if you do the CSA program, you're going to get vegetables with big, beautiful leaves. Or you can eat this plain. You don't even have to put the, you don't even have to put it into a lettuce cup. This is a great lunch because if because there are no animal products in this, meaning any meat or dairy, this will last 5 to 6 days. If there was some type of dairy product in this, you might want to toss it after 2 to 3 days from a dairy, excuse me, from a food safety standpoint. And then I'm just topping my avocado with this. And that is it. You can fold it up like a little taco, but look at all the beautiful color. We like to say we eat with our eyes. So very simple. I just did this in a few minutes. I know I did some food prep before class, but this is what I meant by cooking up a grain and having it the rest of the week. The carrots, you can buy them already shredded. So a lot of different ways that you can just throw this together during the week. And that is it. Any questions?
Oh, it looks delicious. Kendra said that, and Dina said that in the chat too. It definitely does look delicious. I like that the versatility of this recipe, because as Michele said, you can interchange the beans, you can use farro, you can use, I've used quinoa with it. Michele, it gives it a little different texture.
Yeah.
But there's so many different ingredients that you can use with this, and it's quick and it's easy, and you usually have leftovers. So when I make it with the lettuce wraps, then I use the leftovers just maybe for something on the side, a quick salad or something, a quick snack. So really, really good. Do you have any like different herbs that you would incorporate into this, like maybe basil or anything like that, Michele?
Yeah, anything that you like, dried, fresh, sometimes, we buy the fresh and we have this huge container or even those little plastic packs and we just don't seem to get through it. So if you have any of those extra lingering, use that. I'm more of a fan of dried spices because they last a little bit longer. However, I would say 2-year shelf life and toss those. My husband is growing some fresh herbs, so I would typically use that as well. So yeah, but whatever type of herb you prefer, and even adding some spices, like adding some turmeric, which doesn't have a lot of flavor, but a lot of anti-inflammatory properties, maybe a little bit of cumin. So experiment.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, good. Well, it looks delicious.